Hello everyone, I'm the founder and president of Snic Solutions. Our customers just like to call us Snic, and we are a manufacturing technology company, very passionate about composable smart manufacturing, unlocking manufacturing excellence. My team and I are here at the ProveIt conference, and me and Zach here with me are wearing the sales hat, and we have Rahul, who's going to be just coming up on the podium in a sec, who will be leading the demo that we have put on together here to prove our solution. We have more than 20 years of software implementation experience, but a couple of years ago we realized that we got to also build our own product to accelerate time to value for manufacturers in adopting enterprise manufacturing systems. We worked with multiple companies, whether it's discrete manufacturing, batch manufacturing, continuous manufacturing companies across 12 countries. And the way we would like to do this is to come and have Zach play the sales role where he's talking to a lot of manufacturers. So Zach, let me ask you, for all the manufacturers and everyone watching this video where we prove the solution, what is the problem that you think basically customers would be solving with our solutions, and what's the problem that they identify with?
Yeah, so a big thing that people, when they're looking at different solutions, especially large implementations and MES type projects, folks spend a lot of time looking at product. There's a lot of different solutions here at ProveIt. There's about 51 vendors here actually. And it's a lot of product-focused conversations, which can be good, but in the selection process for folks, I don't see maybe enough time spent on the implementation roadmap, both internally and vetting the product vendor on the implementation process. So that's something that I think is kind of missing from a lot of these conversations, and something that we're definitely going to be touching on here, kind of the how and the why that we get to that.
So what is Rahul going to be showing? How do we solve this problem?
Yeah, so Rahul's going to be walking through a couple things. First is going to be the Ops Center execution suite. As a Siemens partner, this is something that we represent and have represented for a very long time, probably over 15 years at this point. It's an enterprise-grade MES platform that's installed around the globe at many of the largest names that you probably know. The other thing we're going to be showing, or really answering the question, is how do we get into that software from where the customer is at? The answer to that question is our factory thread product. It's a middleware that we built because we would go into customers and have, in the past 6 months or 12 months before they started seeing value from the software. And it wasn't only the market that was telling us that that's not acceptable, it's our own standards that was telling us that's unacceptable. So we built a solution internally to solve that. And that solution is Factory Thread. And Factory Thread does a couple things. It's the data layer for the organization. So it's not just plugging into Ops Center software and the organization software. It's also the data layer for the organization. So there's applications beyond the initial install. When an organization takes the next step into another point solution, another ERP, another CRM, wherever they decide to take the business, Factory Thread is going to be there to enable that. So the ProveIt conference here has been really nice and provided us with live factory data that we're going to be using to showcase that. So I'm really excited to show that to y'all.
Awesome. So time to value is what we are focusing on, and let me invite Rahul here to get started, where we will be showing the ProveIt data, how we are collecting that, and then we will show 2 demonstrations to start with the Siemens Ops Center X product. It's a newly launched product last year, specifically for SMBs from Siemens. We're very excited about that. And after that, we will jump into Factory Thread. Rahul?
Thank you.
So, hello everyone. I'm Rahul. I'm the Customer Success Manager at Snic Solutions. Let me go ahead and show you all how we do this entire product and how you would execute it on a day-to-day basis in the world of an operator who's going to do the transactions, in the world of a supervisor who's going to instruct and govern it and manage it, and also going to look at the quality of how a quality manager would take care of executions of the shop floor from a quality standpoint, and would also take care of how they would work with non-conformances, which would lead to how easily they could maintain it and solve the issues related to quality. So in order to move on, right, as a supervisor, first thing that the tool would give us is give the supervisor a visibility to see what are the set of work orders that they need to use, produce or manufacture on the shop floor. So it gives him a very clear visibility here based on the production schedule given. He could see all the orders that needs to be produced, and as well as look at, which of the orders are in progress, which of the orders are completed, also which are the orders, standing at what date and what production. So in order to do so, he could assign an order that needs to be go ahead and produced. So let me take any one example over here. Let me go ahead and take the order number 54 and see how it's going to get produced. So in order for him to do that, the operator is always given an data acquisition portal here where he could go ahead, select a particular order. So let me filter one of the orders. So based on the data that was given to us in ProveIt, right, we are taking the enterprise B data, which helps us with the liquidation, fillers, as well as the packing operations that they need to go on with. So if I take the first example over here in terms of liquid process, let me go ahead and start the production over here. So once we have the production of the operations that needs to be performed, we could assign a workstation of where it needs to be done. So I'll go ahead and select one of the mixing stations over here and start my production. Now once this is done, the very important part that we are going is, in a manual world, you're not governing this while they're doing production. But in an environment like this that Siemens gives you, which is a cloud-based MES, they need to ensure they follow the right steps, take the right requirements, and give the accurate data. That's the most important thing that we are solving over here, which gives the customer enough confidence to know that this is how they need to go ahead and do the production. So let me start off with the work instructions over here, which could be a data information given to them on what are the necessary steps they need to follow in terms of production, or it could even be documented and given to us. So I follow the work instructions on my day-to-day life, I see what's that's been done, and I go on. Now moving on to this being a liquid manufacturing, we very importantly need to follow genealogy, right? In order for us to know that to make this particular work order batch, what were the different raw materials that we used, so that tomorrow if we want to do a track and trace and want to see where we went wrong or what really happened against the order or the operation, it's taken here. I could use a barcode here to scan it, but I'll just go ahead and feed one of the material tracking units for the system that I need to use. So let me just get another one. Sorry. Okay. So if you see here, I've taken one of the tracking units, which basically has 13,000 available in it, but I just need 7,200. So I can go ahead, define 7,200 and book that against that particular order. What this indicates is it's giving the information that against this particular work order lot, this was the particular MTU in terms of raw material that I had used. Obviously, you could have multiple raw materials, you could have multiple stages that you can cover it. In order to keep it simple, we have defined only one over here. So let me go ahead and accept that. Once I finish that, or while I'm doing my entire manufacturing, I could have different iterations, or at the beginning, at the end, a data collection that needs to be done, which is generally done on paper. But in this scenario, we could have n number of data points that you would want the user to capture. So in my day-to-day life, when I am actually looking at doing my production, the two examples that we have taken is what's the recipe that I use, because that's what I want to govern, that they don't miss out on, and what was the temperature of the machine when we started it, right? So I'll just give it as about 80 degrees Celsius and move on. Now in this scenario, I manually captured data, but in the next scenario, I'll show you how I could probably automate it and get it from my machines directly. So let me go ahead do this and say I ended up doing the mixing operation and completed it. Before I do that, you should also notice that it gives them a remaining time for the process that they need to do. A mixing process over here definitely runs for about 2 days, but in this scenario, I'll override that and go ahead and finish it. Once the operation has been completed, it has, if you see, it has automatically moved to what is the next step or next operation that they need to follow. Now me becoming a filling operator that I need to capture the data, let me go ahead and start production again. I follow the same work instructions given to me. Obviously, they could be different for filling operations, but I'll go ahead and produce it. Now, once I did this, as I had promised, I told you I'll show you how data collection can be done automation. So at the back end, what we're doing is, like Zach mentioned, we'll show you factory thread later, but using factory thread, we're going and getting the current rate of filling that we are doing at the production level. So let me just refresh this. And you would see the data collection automatically happened from the MQTT data that we are getting out of the machine, which tells me my current fill rate is 478 bottles at this point of time, which is quite good. I'm going well. So I'm good to go and I can go ahead and complete my production over here, right? So I again make 7,200 output and I close it here. So this is a scenario where I'm showing you how a user can log into the system, take the operator, go ahead and do his entire production and complete this.
All right, thanks Rahul. So far what we have done is that if you have a production floor where you have an operator, that operator, how is he going to use the screen instead of basically just logging something on paper? But Rahul, this is like a very happy path, what he has to do every day, right? What if a problem goes wrong? Like there are usually non-conformances, there's quality issues, etc. Can you bring those scenarios now, which is probably the unhappy path?
Sure,
So let's go and show that.
Sure. Let me show you that in the very next operation of my packing, right? So me as an operator, I go ahead and start my packing operations. And based on the information given to me in terms of applying the label, going and following the work order to be completed, I went ahead and printed my labels, but I happened to see an issue in the label information that was given to me. So I cannot go ahead with production at this point of time. So if you see on the right corner over here, we have an option which says add non-conformance. This gives the operator to provide enough information to the quality team in order to tell them that what is the issue. If you give me enough information, we can work and act according to that. So let me go ahead and say that my label has incorrect values, right? Which is what I cannot print and give out. So I want to be very sensitive about it. And I want to go ahead and assign this work to the quality department over here. So I'm making the quality team responsible for it. And because I'm raising it against the work order, it already provides enough information for them to go. But that's not enough for us, right? The quality team would want to know more information about what's really the problem. So I have different categories defined. So as we are at the process, it's not giving me enough information. And I'm also telling it that me at the packing department is failing. So what we have done is the system gives you enough failure categories that we could define, maintain for each operation or each step and maintain it. So if you see here at the packing, because I have label misalignment or incorrect values or missing. So like I said, I had incorrect values in my label. So I can click on that and provide that information. Now in order to do so, what are you going to do with the current production? I want to raise an action to a team to go fix it so that I can get the labels and continue. So I can go ahead and ask them to correct the labels that are there, give them an action and tell them, please correct the values. And again, I will give it a responsibility to the quality team and ask them that, can you please get this done today itself or by tomorrow? Otherwise, the lot's going to be affected and not going to move on and create issues on my floor. So I will add it and proceed. So this gives me the overall information about the entire labels, what's the issue, what's the non-happy path over here, Nikhil. And if I want, I can even add a photo of the label here if needed so that, and I submit this whole transaction. Now, when the operator has done this, right, it is but obvious that I have to pause the production because I cannot go ahead and move on until my labeling is being completed for me to pack and give it to my finished goods to ship the item. So Nikhil, this is how I would raise the non-conformance so that the quality team can act accordingly now.
So the shop floor doesn't really have just the operator, it has other personas.
Yes.
Can you now cover basically another persona on the shop floor
Sure.
who would basically interact with the same system to showcase basically the competencies of and the capabilities of the software?
Absolutely. Thanks, Nikhil. Sure. So let me go back now and log in as an operator here, as a quality person over here and look at what he can do.
Okay.
So if you see over here, we have the non-conformances tag or a management that he's going to look at on a day-to-day basis. So if you see here, I've already raised multiple non-conformances, but the one that I raised immediately in terms of label incorrect values, you would see that over here. And obviously, I can even get a dashboard as a quality person to get a visualization that how many non-conformances do I have to act on, which one was recently created. So if you see here, I have one in the last created in what was created in the last 1 hour, which I need to act on, right? So let me go back. Let me open it and try to understand what's really the issue with this label over here as a quality manager. So what the tool is giving me is it's giving me enough information of the label. It's telling me that I need to fix it. I need to get this. It was raised sometime back in this scenario. I have to go ahead and see if I need to transfer it to the engineering team or get the responsibilities here. And the production team has also raised it as an high category because I want to fix the label, otherwise the inventory is going to get stuck on my production flow. Now, along with this, we could even define which material tracking unit it's getting affected, which I haven't done, but we could definitely do that and get the information. So as a quality person, I have all of these actions that I need to do, and assume I go and solve this complete issue in this scenario and I complete and solve the label problem, and I can go and say, this particular activity has been completed from the quality department and I spent about 30 minutes on this to fix it, and I go ahead and save it here. So this way I'm taking the non-conformances from the quality management team and I'm able to close it. But before I move on, as a quality person, right, I could even have a look at what my trends are in terms of my non-conformances that we have been raising, right? It's not only managing it, you would also want to know how many non-conformances are happening, and if something is happening repeatedly, I could probably build something within the system to go and cross-check and raise alarms to reduce these activities. So, for example, if I come to the recent month here, say from 1st of February until today, let's go 1 month back, sorry. It's showing me what's the trend. Say from January to February, suddenly I've started having an increase and raising 12 different categories, and I could probably make reports and look out of the system and see, where I'm having a lot of these non-conformances. So, Nikhil, I hope that answers your question that you asked.
Absolutely. So, coming back to the ProveIt virtual factory, the Enterprise B had some data coming from MQTT. It also had some data coming in from Postgres as a database.
Yep.
And then we also have some data that is not available. But out of that, the quality person right now, is there anything that you're just picking just from the machine right now and you're able to show in terms of analytics? Is there anything?
Yep, sure. I can show you two things. For that whole thing, right, let me introduce you to the product that Snic developed, which is called Factory Thread. One is, so the main two things that I'll be answering over here is, one is the time to value, right? How easily can we quickly get data from different sources and different mechanisms, and how we can alter the data or transform the data and use it in different scenarios. And the second very important thing is I'll show you how I'm getting machine data out of it and, coming and affecting Ops Center by showing you an SPC chart. So let me introduce here Factory Thread, which is our application that we have built. Any organizations, right, would have a lot of ways of getting different data sources that you would want to get. So in this ProveIt conference, we were given the Postgres databases which basically which acts like an ERP for us to give us the lots, to give us the work orders and informations. Plus, we were given a virtual factory, which basically we connect to MQTT and get different temperatures, flow rate, which we could use for data collections or even use it to create SPC charts. So in over here, if you see, I can have multiple ways of getting data where we can get it from a database, a file, an application that you have, or the latest technology is basically getting it through APIs, which is what OpsCenter X uses, and also getting it from MQTT or an OPC UA. So,
Is there anything that you're pulling which is not part of MQTT or the Postgres that you're also having to call in order to everything that you gave a demo for OpsCenter X?
yes, definitely we are, Nikhil, because the MES needs detailed tasks, and those detailed task systems of records are not really maintained in the ERP. So we kind of built a front end or an Excel, I would say, where we are basically defining what are the detailed tasks that you want the operator to do, and we could use this in MES to become the system of record which you could use it for further analysis. So right now we're using Excel, but definitely we have an application that you can just enter this data as well. So in this scenario, if you see, Nikhil, what the works instructions, what are my material consumptions that we need to do, and things like that are sources that we are getting out of Excel, or the data touch points that we're getting out of Excel as well.
Okay.
So let me move on to how we would create production flows, the flows inside the system in order to transform the data the way we get. Because the data that's maintained in a virtual machine or in the IPC or in your ERP is not something exactly the same way an MES would need it, or in any other application, because Factory Thread can also be used to go and integrate and get all of your data available over here. So let me take a simple example over here, where if you see, I have scheduled a task here. I'm scheduling this where I want to update the work orders at a given point of time. I'm able to get all the current work orders that we want to generate inside OpsCenter X using the data that we got from Postgres. So this gives me the whole visualization of the entire orders and gives me this information. And then I run an API which basically goes and creates these work orders. Now, why do we use Factory Thread for all of this is primarily because you could use different functions inside Factory Thread to transform your data, because you would want to filter your data, you would want to change the formatting of it, because each application would have its own data structure, or we could even merge data. So let me show you a little more complicated flow that we have created over here. Zoom in a little bit. So basically, if you see here, we are getting data from a table, we kind of transforming it, we are building. The main important aspect of Factory Thread here is that you're not writing code. It's a no-code platform where you're just going and writing filter queries in just by clicking buttons and writing values. You don't need to be a coder or someone to go able to easily go and do this. So the objective of this is that anybody within the shop floor or anybody within the organization should be able to use it. That's why we made it simple. But if you see here, I'm getting data from an Postgres database. I'm getting data from MQTT. If you see over here, both of these put together is where I'm running transactions and doing data collection. So that's the way that we're using Factory Thread to get basically data from different sources and go and update it.
So tomorrow, if another application needed the same data, would they have to rewrite all these flows, or they could use the same flows?
No, Nikhil, they will not. In fact, you would use Factory Thread to catalog your whole data, where, let me show you a good example of this that we had done for a scenario. So we obviously have a lot of flows. So the way I've done the cataloging, Nikhil, is I've taken something called master data. I have created a set of views or flows inside the system where if I want to know the routing information of my ERP, anybody can use this flow for routing data of the ERP and use it in MES, use it for your cost calculations, or use it for transforming data into another database, or use it even for reporting purposes, to do it. So Factory Thread would even help you to catalog your data with different ways, because that makes your life easy to take and reuse, right? Not everybody doesn't have to rebuild everything from scratch.
So traditionally, if you see, we as software implementers were writing basically all of these integrations point to point, or manufacturers generally have developers in their IT team who are very good at basically transforming data from the existing systems that they have. All that is good, but it's not maintainable, sustainable, and scalable if you don't have a middleware. So in our ProveIt conference solution, we are using our interoperability platform, Factory Thread, because we understand these manufacturing systems that we are connecting to. But tomorrow, if you want to adopt Op Center from Siemens, but you already have a middleware, as long as basically you're solving the flexibility, scalability, maintainability problem, then you can even go ahead and use another middleware of your choice. Coming back to the ProveIt data.
Hold on, Nikhil, I initially to show an example of SPC. We missed that.
Yeah, so that's what we are. So we're going to come back. So we covered operator, we covered a quality person. We also, if you look at middleware, is going to be used by a data engineer or somebody who's data savvy who can create flows, reports, etc. But we're now going back to the quality person, where we are going to be showcasing a particular use case where if there is machine data that is coming directly, then how can quality person basically use that in Op Center X. So back to you, Rahul.
Thank you, Nikhil. So basically, as a quality person, right, I want to go and monitor the flow rate of the system, where I want to know how is the flow happening, because we did a data collection in the operation where we did it at that given point of time, but that's not enough for me. I want to see how is the flow rate for the last 1 day or 2 day and want to create. So you could quickly create an inspection order. I'm going to avoid showing you that, but then you just create an inspection order where I'm monitoring my flow rate. One immediate way is, someone has to come manually and enter the data, but that's not where we want to go with today's technology. So we have used Factory Thread to create a flow where we would capture the measuring values of a flow rate from the MQTT broker given to us as a virtual. Now, right now, I have triggered it to every 15 minutes, but in order for you to show you the demo, let me go ahead and change this to every 15 seconds, right? And what I'm also showing you is how quickly I can make changes into Factory Thread. So all I did is make the change, save it, and I redeploy it. And if you come here, before I refresh the screen, you'll see that, it's capturing at different ways in either last 15 minutes or last every 1 hour. Now, because I made it every 15 seconds, let me refresh the screen. And you would see that it's starting to capture this whole data for every 15 seconds now and trying to show you what is the flow rate that we are capturing at every 15 seconds. So let me go ahead and hit it one more refresh. I'm sure it'll have one more value. There you go. So from last was at 15, now it went to 30. So this way we're doing it. But that does not end there, right? What the tool gives you now is where Op Center X could show you a chart of how your entire flow rate is going up and down. And I could also have an upper limit, a lower limit, which we wanted to look at and show you the flow rate. But what's the advantage out of this also is that if your flow rates go, say, above 500, we could immediately raise a non-conformance, we could raise an alarm to the team and say, hey, the flow rate is continuously gone. So what I'm really trying to tell you is that once the data is getting captured, we could write alarms on top of the system that would tell you, oh, you're going above this, you're going below this, it needs to be looked up and go. So the non-conformances can start becoming more accurate rather than an after fact where you go read it into a paper. So two things I showed, Nikhil. One is how Factory Thread can quickly reschedule it and act on it, and you could use Op Center X to even capture your SPC charts for multiple places. I've just shown you one, but definitely we could go ahead and do it for multiple places.
One challenge that I've seen, Rahul, is that going back to the data engineer persona, let's say all this is running, so many transactions are going on, things could go wrong where they would like to go back and check, hey, did everything work the way it had to work?
Yep.
And data governance is a very big challenge today in manufacturing. How is Factory Thread helping on that?
So what we've done is basically, because we have customers living on this data, we've built a dashboard here to make your life easy to see those. So basically, we have a set of flows that are basically running at given different point of times, right? Basically, you look at anything that's published, these are different flows that are running. But if I go into the dashboard, I could go and monitor it, say for the last 24 hours, how many real transactions have we ran? So in this scenario, if you see, we basically ran about 10,000 transactions, out of which 8,300 were successful and 2,500 were a failure, right? Now, I want to get more information. Before I go there, it's also giving you that what's my current flow running, what's my upcoming in my schedule. But if I scroll down, we have a highlight here where it shows you what were the different flows that were successful and failure. And we are trying to go into as granular level within the flow to tell you what has really passed within the flow and what really failed as well within the flow to give you more clarity. So if you see, because a flow can have different sources of data you're getting, you're running different transformations like merge, response, you're filtering data and mapping it. And if I look at my last place, the data collection is failing. The reason the data collection is failing over here is it's looking for a particular work order, and that work order does not exist in your system right now. That's why it's telling you that the work order does not exist. So you need to go back and see what's the issue. So it's giving you that granular information of that particular work order, why it's really failing. We could add more informations if you need, but what's the plus point of this also is that we could put it as an email trigger, right? Where you could either rerun the flows, try 3 more times, and if it fails, then write an email back to me and say, hey, your data is failing. So you don't have to keep monitoring it that way.
We are living, Rahul, in the age of AI where everybody is using some sort of an LLM.
Correct.
So could an LLM interact with factory thread and these tools where rather than looking at what I'm seeing right now, it's complicated. Me and Zach as on the sales side is like it becomes Greek and Latin for us. So is that possible?
Definitely, Nikhil. So we do allow you to go and connect to your own LLMs here, or we could offer you one as well to go and do it. But you could define an LLM and go and connect it. But more importantly, Nikhil, is that what do you really want to do out of it, right? Connecting is very easy. But so we are coming up with a more innovative way to try and be proactive, where you could go and look at it and give you that information. So yes, definitely we could connect to AI. We could build easily. You could write like how you write it through a chat bot, or you write it to Chat GPT. You could even go and write here and give you all those informations and come out there.
So let's go back with what we have seen right now. Essentially, for a manufacturer to solve their problem in digitalizing their shop floor, whether it is production operations, quality, etc., you need to look at it basically at 2 or 3 projects basically together. One is basically data integration as a project.
Yep.
One is basically, what do you want to do? What are your use cases? And also data cleanup, data discipline is going to be basically a big project for people who have already usually gone ahead and been using paper, or it's tribal knowledge. And the third, of course, is the business application itself, which is Ops Center X here in this case. These personas, Rahul, obviously they are the doers.
Yep.
But you are also having consumers who are decision makers.
Yes.
So how, all the data that is collected, can multiple people make sense of this?
So definitely, Nikhil, we have a performance analysis dashboard here where we are trying to focus on either plant managers or supervisors or quality people. So I showed you how you would see the non-conformance analysis for sure, but let me go and show you from a supervisor or a plant level, right? Because you're talking of SMBs, mostly it could be the plant manager himself looking at it. So I have a dashboard here where at each machine level, I could easily look at and tell you that what's your backlog, what's your overdue, how many are in process, how many have you completed. Because as a manager or a plant manager or a supervisor, I want to know where you stand, so we get those visibilities here. But if I also want to go one step more in depth, I can even get to know about my work orders, right? Because I'm going to have 500, 600 different work orders at one given point of time. We've given you easy filter options where you could go and look at it for a particular product or a particular status of the order, but it kind of gives you which is in process, which is in place, and you're going. Last one more also, Nikhil, is that in this scenario, I'm producing one part, but if I'm making multiple parts, I can go and see what's the throughput for the last 1 week, 1 month, or use factory thread, get the data out and build your own BIs, using it. And that's what factory thread helps you to make life more easier if it's not available within the tool.
So if you just want to point back to the home page to summarize Ops Center X as an application, the vision of Siemens is to build the industrial platform. And for SMBs, particularly using Ops Center X, they are looking to go ahead and create applications that are going to allow different personas in SME manufacturing to do their work. And in SMBs, generally multiple hats are worn. So if nobody is there, the supervisor is also going to run the machine. So you have something in Op Center X for the supervisor, something for the planner, something for the operator, something for the maintenance person. And the vision of Siemens is to bring all these people to collaborate on the same platform by using these modular apps. And Factory Thread is what is the glue where it can not only bring Op Center X, but it can bring all the other systems together so that data is coming from single sources of truth and it can basically be collaborated better. So Rahul, thanks for this.
Thank you, Nikhil.
We will move into the other section of answering as how do we actually do this. So usually SMBs have a case as to how much this is usually going to cost. Op Center X licenses are tier licenses, and you could basically start with a minimum of 10 licenses, but as you go and add more licenses, there's a tiered pricing that is available. We as a company, Zach, we bundle licenses one thing, but from a services standpoint, what would you recommend for a small business to start with? Like, should they just go big bang, or should they do something else?
Yeah, so our recommendation for SMBs that are looking to get into a product like this is really to take a phased approach. That's what we see, folks that have the highest successful outcomes doing. And we've really structured our service business around that for those customers. So we have something called the Smart Ops package, which is really tailored for SMBs who are not looking for a huge lift from an integrator like Snic, who maybe have a few IT resources that are going to be available to help out with the implementation. That's really a good place to start, is kind of a phase one approach. And then from there, it's limitless. The sky is endless from where they can go.
So this Smart Ops subscription package is an initial $60,000 package that we've put together that you can see. It includes licenses of Op Center X, Factory Thread, and it includes onboarding and setup fee from our side. We generally in SMBs have different types of companies have different requirements. Some of them basically are pretty much, as you would see on the screen towards the left, where they want to do everything themselves because they're at a user maturity level where the goal is actually to get visibility and control, but it's also more to learn all of these tools. And our recommendation to those manufacturers is that the more you can do yourself, the better it is. And that's pretty much the left side of the options that are there. But a lot of time, digital transformation for many of them is slow. The reason is that they're just putting so many fires out that they need specialists to come in and help them out and be their partner. And this is where our services come in, where our goal is to go ahead and give you more options where you could treat us as an extended partner. If it's just not giving you the licenses, just not training you how to do it, but actually going and helping you solve the problem and get the business outcomes. And we could pretty much go all out to taking a lot away from your plate if that's what you need. But that's where the cost would basically vary and it will be more higher. Yeah. In summary, we are trying to be your partner in your transformation, where we take up outcomes which are business outcomes and not necessarily symptoms of the shop floor. And what by business outcomes we mean on-time delivery or cost of poor quality that you want to reduce, or top-line revenue that you want to improve, or if you're trying to bring new products basically that you want to diversify and go to market. These are basically the business outcomes that you should be going after. And for these outcomes is where we're looking to partner with SMBs and bring the Siemens portfolio of solutions as an expert Siemens partner, as well as our product and technology, Factory Thread, that complements your business applications. Thank you very much. Thanks, Zach.
Yep.
And thanks, Rahul.